Hi, it's Darren with Smartsheet Guru. I had an opportunity to take part in a demo and Q&A session with Smarter Business Processes to demonstrate their Smartsheet Control Center alternative called Smarter Launchpad. I'm definitely going to be recommending Smarter Launchpad to my clients that require a consistent, automated Smartsheet project creation and at a fraction of the cost of Smartsheet's Control Center. You'll want to watch the demo to see what Smarter Launchpad can do. As a reseller for Smarter Business Processes, you can reach out to me directly to learn more about Smarter Launchpad. Enjoy the session.
Welcome to the Tech Q&A session on Smarter Business Processes app, Smarter Launchpad. I'm delighted to be joined here by Darren Mullen of Smartsheet Guru. Welcome, Darren.
Thank you, Debbie. Pleased to be here.
Excellent. The purpose of this session is to explain the functionality of Smarter Launchpad and then allow you to post some questions that you might have to help me explain a little bit more about the app. Is that okay?
Sure, sounds great. Could you briefly summarize what Smarter Launchpad is and who it's aimed at?
Yes, sure. So Smarter Launchpad is a quick and reliable way to spin up new assets from templated solutions. So it's aimed at clients that would like to automate the creation of Smartsheet items from template sets at an affordable price. So we could use it for project management, but also for any other solution like an HR solution maybe, whereby you need to take a template set and automate the creation of the items within it without a bottleneck, without a person. So that's what it is, and that's what it is used for. So shall we?
I'm excited to learn more about this.
That's fabulous. Let's start with a demonstration then, and then you can sort of pose some questions after that, if that's okay. So here, Darren, we have a portfolio dashboard from the PMO template set available from Smartsheet. So I've just downloaded this template set to use as our assets here. So this dashboard has some statistics about the projects that are already in place. So we have two different types of project in this demonstration. We've got a detailed set and a low-level type of project, but I'll explain more about that as we go through. I've got two projects, and you can see they're both active at the moment. The health is in progress, and we've got some dates there from the assets themselves, and I'll look through those in just a moment. Down on the dashboard, when you download this template set, you do have a way of adding new projects via a project intake form. So I just sort of scroll down to the area and I'll just add a new project here. So let's call it a Smarter Launchpad demonstration. I'm going to be looking at the detailed project type first. So I'll choose a detailed item, pop myself in as project manager and pick, let's have beginning of December as my start and the end of January as my finish date. Hit submit. And you've created a new project request within the template set. So while we're waiting for Launchpad to take the details that I've entered into that form and process them, I'll just take you behind the scenes. So behind the scenes, we have our intake sheet. If I just do a quick refresh, you can see that's just come in here. Number 8 is the Project Launchpad demonstration, and those are the details that I've just entered into my form. We have a column here called Smarter Launchpad Status, and you can see the word new has been entered automatically via that form. It was a hidden cell within the form. So our tool looks for the word new in the Launchpad status, and then when it finds it, it goes and looks at some of the details in the row that was added via the form, and then launches the assets connected to that row. So for our situation, I said that we were doing a detailed project, and that detail, the word detail there in my project management type column, is telling Smarter Launchpad to go and find a template called detailed set, and then do a file save as new, put the output into a specified location, and then change the names of some of the assets within that template set. So you will find in a moment when this starts processing that the word Smarter Launchpad demonstration will be at the top of the Gantt chart. My name will be in the main assigned to area, and the project ID will appear in some of the names of the dashboard and some of the project folders. So that all happens behind the scene. Just while we're on this intake sheet, I can see here we've got start date, end date, dashboard link, project plan link, schedule health, and project status. These are areas from the project Gantt chart that will be created, and that will automatically feed back row one's data into these columns ready for portfolio tracking. We can see here that their item in SLP status is just updated to the word processing. And processing means that Launchpad has found the row with the word new, and it's now creating those assets. So it's looking at my detailed area in my project template set, and it's now creating those assets. And in just a moment, we will see this processing. Here we go. I do a quick refresh, and the processing word has now changed to the word created. And we can see that a start date, an end date, a link to the dashboard, a link to the project plan, and the schedule health and the project status has all been filled in automatically. I've not done any work there at all, which is really good. It's what we like. So I'm just going to pop back to my dashboard just to show quickly that the dashboard automatically updates as well. So this was my dashboard. I just need to do a quick refresh on the dashboard because I'm working in tabs, and we know that Smartsheet needs to have a refresh once a different tab has been updated. So my screen has now refreshed, and you can see here I've got another detailed project on the go. So I only had one there before. I've now got two. One of them is not started and one was already in progress. So this not started asset was the asset that's just been created by Smarter Launchpad. If I have a look here, I've got a report called active projects, but because it's still in the not started status, it's not showing up on my active projects yet. So if I look at total projects of all time, I get a report to show my intake sheet. And you can see here that project plan number 8 is the Smarter Launchpad demonstration, which is what we've just added via the form. You can see that the dashboard link has been renamed to the project ID and the project name. And there is a link here to the actual project plan within the dashboard template set. I'm going to click here on the Smarter Launchpad demonstration dashboard link and show that we have set up this dashboard automatically. It's still saying nothing's completed yet, so we haven't started it, but it does say here that I am the project manager and the project name has updated automatically in this dashboard. You can see the dashboard name has picked up the ID and the dashboard name here. Sorry, the project name up in the top. If I click on the project plan from the dashboard, it will take me to a Gantt that has automatically picked up some data from the intake sheet. So you can see here, I've got Project Launchpad demonstration as the name in task row 1. I've got my name as the project manager in the assigned to. The start date has picked up the fact that we said we would start on the 1st of December, and then all the other dates have been populated via the template set there. If I have a look in the summary pane, you can see that the project name has been updated in the summary pane automatically, as has my name as the project manager, and the start date was also picked up from the intake sheet. So all of this has happened automatically by Smarter Launchpad. If I just do a very quick update on my percentage complete here, look, I've very quickly completed a few tasks and hit save. I go back to my dashboard, and you can see this dashboard is already showing updated status from those 3 tasks that I've just signed off. If I go back one more through to the dashboard that we started from, and I hit refresh again, then we should have some updated statistics coming through in my chart automatically. Excellent. So you can see here now they're both in progress. So, and that's without having to do any manual admin behind the scenes. So Smarter Launchpad monitors an intake sheet, creates new assets from the template set, renames them, pushes the data from the intake sheet into specified cells in the new assets, and then forms cell links with different specified cells in the new assets back to the intake sheet in order to update the portfolio metrics.
Wow, that was a great demo. I can see there's a very automated tool. It's very smart. Takes a lot of that manual administration work out of creating new projects. I could see this really reducing a lot of errors. However, I do have some questions.
Okay, fire away.
Is this only useful for complex templates, or if you have a sheet on its own with no folder, can this be used for that situation as well?
Yes, that's a good question. Start us off with. Your template can be a single sheet or it can be a folder full of assets. The only constraint within the template folder, if you're going for more than one asset, is that it cannot contain more than 100 assets. And this is a Smartsheet constraint, not a constraint from Smarter Launchpad. So your template set can be as complex as you need or as small as you need. I do have a little bit of information on that here. These are the project templates that I've set up for this demo. And you can see my detailed project template has a dashboard, 3 reports, and a project Gantt. Whereas my low-level one, which I've not demonstrated yet, but I can do, is just a single sheet. So it can be simple or it can be complex. It can be more complex than this even if you need it to be.
Okay, it's good to know. I see that you have 2 templates, a detailed and a low level. Are you limited to only 2 templates, or can you have more?
A great question. Smarter Launchpad can select the appropriate template from an unlimited pool of templates. There's got to be some logic in how the template is selected. We've got some clients using this tool with just one template, one sheet, and just automating the production of that sheet. We've got some clients that work with just 2 templates, like I'm demonstrating here. I've got some with 15 templates. I've got some with over 40 templates. It can be as complex or as simple as the process that you're automating. The cost for the product doesn't change with the number of templates you use. So the cost is the cost. You can have 1, you can have 40, you can have as many as you need with this tool.
Oh, wow. That's even better. Sounds like a great value. But how does Smarter Launchpad know which template to use?
So within the setup, you do have to have a column within your intake sheet that's telling our app which template set to use. So if I just switch here to the intake sheet that we're using, the column that details our template is called project management type. You can have whichever column you wish. You can call it project category. You can call it template if you want. But you can see here in my project management type column, I have 2 different answers. I can either go for a detailed or a low level. Over in my project level assets within my workspace, project management office workspace, you can see I've got a project templates folder and in the detailed project or low level project. So the value in my project management type is telling our app which of these folders to go to for the template. So the more templates you have, the more values you would have in your drop-down list properties of the column that you've selected as the template column. I hope that answers your
Okay.
question there.
It does. And I could see that you could use the drop down list manager to keep that drop down up to date if you wanted to.
Oh, yes,
Maybe.
absolutely you can.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like that drop down manager. I even featured it in part of my book.
Oh,
I
wow,
really
that's
it's
awesome.
a very a really useful app or useful add-on, I should say.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
So so we've covered that Smart Launchpad can have more than one or two templates. What about intake sheets? Am I limited to only monitoring one intake sheet, or could I have multiple instances of Smart Launchpad within my organization?
Oh, no, that is another great question, actually. The good news is Smarter Launchpad can monitor multiple intake sheets. So I said at the beginning in my introduction that you could use this for a project management solution or maybe an HR solution, but maybe you're an organization that has lots of departments and lots of needs for templated automation. So you can have as many intake sheets as you need. Just quickly, I've got my admin sheet open in a separate tab. So you can see here that I have my intake sheet ID as part of my admin. But you can see here the numbers are the same for these two rows. So I've got two rows that are looking at one intake sheet. I've got these middle two rows that are looking at a different intake sheet, and these bottom two rows is a third intake sheet. It's these bottom two rows I'm using within this particular demo, but this instance of Launchpad is monitoring three different areas within our enterprise plan. So yeah, you can have multiple intake sheets being monitored with multiple templates on each of those solutions being worked on with their Smarter Launchpad.
Okay, good to know. Even more powerful. Um, is there anything else that I would need to consider if I wanted to use Smart Launchpad for multiple solutions within my organization?
Actually, yes, there is. So when you set up Smarter Launchpad, you need to have an API token from a user within your organization. So the tool needs a login really to your enterprise plan, and we use the API token to give that login. That does mean, however, if you're using this in multiple departments, the login, the token, needs to come from a user that has access to the data in all of the departments. And this is where some companies might think, actually, I would need two instances of Smarter Launchpad because I don't have a user that should have access to the information in projects and in HR or any other department that we would want to use as an example. There is a solution around that. We do recommend that when you purchase an app like Smarter Launchpad or any of our controls for Smartsheet, you set up or you just register one of your licensed Smartsheet licenses to be used with the apps. They're not linked to a person, they're just a generic user, and that token is then used for all of the app work. And then that token can be added as an admin sort of user in inverted commas to all of the different workspaces. So it's not a particular person, it's just an asset from your license list, being able to access all of the data to drive these apps going forward. I hope I answered that. I was a bit roundabout.
Yes, I understand. I often refer to that type of account as a service account.
Yeah,
They're really great.
absolutely.
Yeah, they're really great for business continuity, especially a large company. Now, let's go back to the app. I know it that Smart Launchpad needs an intake sheet to monitor, and it also needs a templates created. What else does it need to work?
It only needs one other thing. So it needs to know where to put the newly created assets. So, so it knows where to look to monitor for launching, and it knows where the templates are to roll up. But then it says, well, what do I do with it? Once I've created it, where do you want it? So we need to have an output area designated in the configuration sheet. You can declare just a project level folder in the same workspace, or the folder can be in a completely different workspace. So you can have each template set put in the launches into lots of different workspaces, or the same one. So it's really quite flexible. You can see on this particular example, under my project level folder, I've got detailed project launches, and this is where I'm landing my newly created assets for detailed projects. If I expand that folder, you can see here I've got a project 6 and a project 8 landed in my detailed project launches. And then I've got a low-level project launch landing place where my project 7 went in. So yeah, so just the launch destination.
Okay, that's good. So it doesn't need to be in the same workspace as the intake sheet even. It could be a
No,
totally different workspace.
we can
Okay.
work across multiple workspaces. The only thing that you do need to have in place is the token. The user whose token we're using to run the app needs to be an admin user in all of the workspaces mentioned within the configuration sheet.
Okay. Are there any limitations if the workspace or the destination workspace or the destination folder, are there any limitations if those are renamed after creation?
No, this all works on
Okay.
IDs. So it works on workspace ID, folder ID, sheet ID. So the naming of the sheets, the naming of the workspaces is not going to impact the solution, the configuration. So yes, you could rename things after this has been set up and it would not have an impact.
Okay. Speaking of naming, I noticed that the Smarter Launchpad can assign names to the project folders and sheets. And it looked like there were some placeholders in your configuration.
Yes,
Is that
absolutely.
can you only use one? Yeah, there they are, the little the brackets there, like
Yes.
project ID dash project name. Okay. Um, so it looks like you can have at least two based on the project ID and project name placeholders there. Can you have more than one placeholder or more than two placeholders?
You can anytime you would like to pick up data from your intake sheet and use it within the name of a new asset, you do use these placeholders. And you can see here we use curly braces to indicate the column that we wish to have. My dashboard has got the project ID and the project name. You could have a third entity in here as well if you have space. You are limited though to 50 characters. Smartsheet has a 50-character name limitation on the names of its assets. So we are constrained by that same 50 characters as well. So you do need to be careful that you don't put too much data into the curly braces. Otherwise, you might run out of characters within that name, and that could have an impact on the launch being successful.
Okay, that's good, but that's something we can keep in mind, right?
Definitely. When we're
Okay.
working with our clients on the configuration of Smarter Launchpad, we do go through that and we do remind clients that, you know, the names need to be short names and not descriptive names sometimes.
Okay, great. Yeah, I remember you saying that the intake sheet can have links set up to cells within the newly created assets. Are there any limits to the number of links?
Again, that we are just controlled by Smartsheet's constraints at the moment. Oh goodness, that's put me on the spot. I think it's
500,000.
either, is it 500,000? I know it's
Yep.
changed recently. So
Yep.
500,000 cell links. And the cell links we're talking about are the ones with these blue arrows. So you can have up to 500,000 of those in a sheet. So I don't think you're going to run out easily.
So going back to the intake sheet, or you're on the intake sheet still, um, you need to have a column that's reserved for identifying the template. Is there anything else in the intake sheet that's reserved or that's required to make the solution work?
There is. So I've still got the PM type highlighted actually. So that was the one that details the template set to use. The other items that you would have to have in your intake sheet would be a column that controls the status of Smarter Launchpad. So I call my column SLP status, Smarter Launchpad status. And the values in there starts off with the word new. And the word new, N-E-W, new, is what the product looks for in order to pick up a launch. That triggers the launch to happen. And then it updates to the word processing and ends up with the word created. Now, this could be hidden on the sheet. You don't need it visible particularly. I like to keep mine visible so I can see the progress of it, sort of finding it, processing it. And then once it says created, I know that I should then be able to go and use those assets straight away. So you need the SLP status and you need the project template identifying column. There is one other thing as well. I know you're probably going to ask me about this black row that I've created across the top. So
Yep,
this
that
is
was one of
a
my next
row.
questions.
I anticipated it. If I just take the black coloring off for a minute, you can see that this top row, row 1, has been reserved for some syntax. So we need the word template in the SLP status column, just for the product to know that's the column to look for the word new. And then within the start date, the end date, dashboard link, so the columns that are taking the data back from the newly created assets, row 1 is our specific syntax that we use to tell the app which cells to go and grab and from which assets to grab them. So that needs to be in row 1. But what we tend to do is just color the background with the same color as the foreground so people don't get distracted by the code in that top row. But we do ask that if you are using a form to update your intake sheet, you set the form settings to always update to the bottom of the sheet. So new rows are added at the bottom because there is an option in your form settings to add new entries to the top of a sheet, but that would have an impact on the success of Smarter Launchpad running.
When you submitted that project through the form and it created a new row here, what told Smarter Launchpad to launch the project? Was there, I didn't see that you had to check a box. Is it based on a time schedule?
Okay, no, that's a really good question. You can have it based on a number of things. For mine, I've made this nice and simple for the demo. I've got it automatically updating the SLP status with the word new, and the product itself monitors this intake sheet on a 10-minute rotational basis. So every 10 minutes, it checks the sheet for the word new. If it finds it, it triggers and starts launching. Sometimes you'll launch at the beginning of that 10-minute window and you might have to wait 10 minutes for it to be picked up. And sometimes you might get lucky and add a row at sort of like 9 minutes and 50 odd seconds, and you're only waiting a few seconds for it to be picked up. But within a 10-minute window, you can have that asset being recognized and set up. If you wanted your project intake sheet to have an approvals process before launching your assets, that can be written into the functionality of the sheet. At the moment, I've got my new being on the actual form, but it doesn't need to be. It could have an automation set up to update the value of this status column based on an approval being given. So you can set up the new value in a number of different ways, but fundamentally it's not always instant. It does sometimes take up to 10 minutes to be recognized.
Okay, that's fine, except for the most impatient project manager. But I don't think there's too many that would expect something that soon. I guess my last comment and question really is, I've been comparing this to Smartsheet's Control Center. Now, Smarter Launchpad doesn't seem to have the same type of GUI as Control Center, but it looks to replicate that functionality as far as the launching of projects from a template. Does Smarter Launchpad have the ability to perform global updates like Control Center?
That's a good question. No, it doesn't. Not within the product itself, but at Smarter Business Processes, we have a whole suite of apps that provide extra functionality to Smartsheet. And we do have an app that we call Smarter Global Search and Replace. So Smarter Global Search and Replace will do the same sort of function as your Control Center find and replace function. We tend to keep it not hidden, but in a set of assets that we reserve really for system administrators. The global search and replace tool is very, very powerful. And it will go through all your workspaces and find instances that you've said and replace them. So we do find that we sort of recommend that tool is reserved for system administrators that can use it in a very careful manner. But we do have a tool that does do that, but not Launchpad specifically.
Okay. Yep. And I've seen that tool on your website in your suite. And what's neat about it is it's not just limited to projects that you would create with Smarter Launchpad, for example. It will update sheets or assets across your whole portfolio in your Smartsheet account. So that's why it's so powerful.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Very powerful, but used in the right way, would save a huge
Okay.
amount of time in admin.
Okay.
Definitely.
Well, I think that's all the questions I have for now. Thank you so much for demonstrating this great tool and allowing me to take up your time with so many questions.
Oh no, you're most welcome. I enjoyed answering them for you, and I do hope that we have answered all of the questions that you had. Yeah, so thank you very much for joining me for this video. And if anyone would like to have any more information, then either contact Smarter Business Processes, or you can contact Darren, the Smartsheet Guru, with the links that we provide. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.